Hey everyone, what's going on? So this is a DLC build that includes the Sword of Night. You get it after a pretty long quest line, but I won't spoil anything for anyone still going through the game. So here are the stats. First off, we have the armor. This is whatever you want. I just try to hit 51 poise so that we at least have something, because this Ash of War takes a little while. That's the charged up version, and then that's the uncharged version. So obviously the charged up version does a little more damage. But for the talismans, these three are kind of mandatory. Rotten Wing Sword Insignia and Millicent's Prosthesis do the same thing, except this one does it a little bit better, but this one adds dexterity, I think about 5 points. Shard of Alexander, obvious, boosts the attack power of skills, and this one you can really do whatever you want. I just have this because the DLC bosses hit super hard. You can run Urchi's Favor, you can run some of this if you want to allocate your stats somewhere else. It really doesn't matter. Now for the stats. This is a New Game Plus build. So I have 20 Scattertree, and my level is a little over 200. So the main point in this build is dexterity. The Sword of Night does not scale with anything else but dexterity. I have 99. And then the rest, it doesn't really matter where you put it. So a couple of thoughts about this build in the base game and the DLC is that the damage that you get, the raw damage output, doesn't really match the stats that you put into it. So it's maxed out, but I find that the Nagakiba definitely still does more damage because that's probably the best katana in the game. But this is definitely still middle of the line in terms of raw damage, and the Ash of War. For the 21 FP cost, you can definitely do better. But it does proc bleed sometimes. It will proc bleed a decent amount if you use the Ash 4, because each hit causes 45 bleed buildup. I have seen a lot of people dissing on this and saying that it's just not good. But if you do put the proper stats in, the proper talismans, you could use buffs too. I find that this is a very viable build in the DLC and the base game. This build won't shred bosses like some other katanas might, but it definitely can hold its own in the later game DLC, such as Radon or something. You could definitely use this on him. Okay, now let's check out the damage for the Ash of War. This is uncharged. This is charged. Okay, that's like 2,000. The FP cost is 21, so it's okay. So overall thoughts for this build is that it's super fun. This is probably one of the most fun builds in the DLC. Just the Ash of War, it looks really cool. Kind of reminds me of the Frayed Blade from Dark Souls 3. I think a lot of people have been making that comparison. Also, the charged heavy attack and just the normal heavy attack is different from the rest of the katanas. It's charged, uncharged. The bloodlust buildup on this is okay. You can't change it by upgrading arcane. If I were to put this on a scale along with the build that I did last, which was the gravity build, I would say it's slightly higher than that one. So maybe I'd put it at a B tier. It also does go through shields, so I find that this is probably a better PvP build than a PvE build, but it's still super fun. Thank you. Goodbye.